So in this video, actually, and this was just voice recorded, so I want to just visualize it for better response. No, it was actually recorded September 25th. I was talking to security chief or director of security, so-called self-proclaimed Director of Security at the CPS, Ronan Shableski, and actually I didn't intend to get in touch with him. I was just calling for some other reasons, but they got me through with him. He was confirming, knowing individual named Scott Nelson, who for a fact I know is a fake individual, just made up to cover everything up, basically. And Scott Nelson, Ronan Shableski would be linked to Jadine Chow. She's her boss, she's the main chief of security and I would say security within the CPS. There will be a little bit of the gap in that recording because I was put on hold, I believe 2 times or something. But let's start and let's listen, and I'll kind of comment whenever there is a chance to comment anything. Okay, let's roll.
Calling for those emails.
Chief Executive Office, I can help you?
Good afternoon. Is there any chance you could provide me with some email addresses of, for instance, the chief of staff of, Dr. Janice Jackson, and I'm talking, I believe this is Pedro De Soto.
Pedro Soto, yes.
Yeah, can I have his email, contact email address, or?
Sure, what is this regarding?
This is regarding actually a pretty serious complaint that I made way back in June, but actually I emailed repeatedly, CEO Janice Jackson, and this is also.
You already emailed Dr. Jackson?
Well, but I would love to spread the word, so to speak, as.
She is the CEO.
Well, she doesn't answer the matter of pretty significant importance, because this is in relation to sex trafficking of your students, underage students.
Okay.
And in addition to it, to make this a little spicier, so to speak, as well, we're talking about someone who is basically identifying himself as a chief investigator within the law department, within the Board of Education, but this someone is basically a fictional figure. I had the chance to meet him, and he's just someone who just pretends to be that someone, but he's not. And this someone is in charge of your investigations. Then, as I said, this is getting pretty serious. Can I have this email address? Would be nice to let me know that I'm on hold. That's one of those, most likely the longest, or anyway, that's the break when I was still waiting to get. Initially, I asked for Pedro De Soto, his email, but still, as I said, people, they just link themselves to fake individuals within chief executive office or within the board of education office. So in this situation, no one credible or no one with any shred of reputation would ever link themselves with anyone who doesn't exist, or with some other entities like offices or institutions that don't exist. So that's the whole point. This is a house of cards, proverbial house of cards. You just pull out one card, and it doesn't have to be really on the bottom or at the top. And then the whole house is gone. Scott Nelson, who is chief investigator, so chief security Ronan Shableski and chief investigator within the CPS. Those are pretty important posts. Scott Nelson easily linked to individuals within the sex trafficking ring run by insane dudes or any basically gang in the nation. I believe both groups, People's Nation and Fox Nation, all these affiliates, they, I believe, cooperate when it comes to sex trafficking. Maybe not drug trafficking, but sex trafficking is much more flexible, elastic. It's a commodity that you can transfer in a really convenient way. Those are just women that you have to guard, and what better leverage to have over these working women, what better leverage is than their own kids held as hostages. America, this is pretty simple thing that we can basically accomplish little by little, piece by piece, just bringing them to their own knees, and they will be gone. All it takes is watch. So let's listen. I will be able in a second, will be talk to Ronan Shableski again. He's Director of Security, and you will be amazed what you will hear from him, basically advising me not to call CPS anymore, because he's being taken, he's basically taking care of everything in relation to my report. But everything started, I'm not talking way back in January when I visited my friends, not my friends, but the principal and assistant principal at the Jonathan Scammon elementary school on Henderson Street, in the northwest part of the city of Chicago. So I'm not going way back to January, I'm just going way back to June, when I informed and provided all the detailed info to both CPS and both Inspector General Nicholas Schur's office on Lake Avenue. Or is it Lake Street? Well, basically Lake and Halstead, that area. So They haven't done anything, Inspector General, and they've just transferred that stuff in August, on August 9th. One of the aides told me, and I submitted this report, that complaint or whatever you can call it, June 11th. So 2 months later, they just transfer it to Inspector General's office, transfers this after 60 days sitting on it. They transfer it to someone who doesn't exist, to Scott Nelson, and he's in charge of the whole thing. And he kind of assured me in the email that no matter what I'll do, they've already kind of initiated some proceedings when it comes to, examining what my complaint is all about. It's not rocket science, people. This is so easy to decipher. But it's hard. Takes much more time when you don't have law enforcement on your side, surprisingly, right? About that later. Yeah, can we put the hold on being on hold? That's a good question. No, you can't. I may throw some funny remarks sometimes. It's just for the reason of cheering up myself, because that's such a this is such a horrendous story that is unfolding in front of our eyes, literally. Sure.
You have Ronan Shableski on the phone from the safety center on the phone with you?
Who is this?
Hi, this is Ronan Shableski. Who am I speaking with?
Who are you, by the way, within the CPS?
I'm the Director of Security for Chicago Public Schools.
Mm-hmm. So can I have your email address?
What is this in regards to?
What is this What is this regarding to?
Yeah, what is this in regards to?
Okay, can you just spell your name, the first name and the last name for me, please?
Sure. First name is Ronan, R-O-N-A-N.
Ronan.
Last name is Shableski.
Mm-hmm. You're Polish, I assume.
S-H-A-B as in boy, L-E-S-K-I.
Mm-hmm. And your email would be basically Ronan, or you can't really reveal your email contact.
I'm sorry, I'm not having trouble hearing you.
I would love to have your email contact address, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's R. First one. It's R-E Shableski at CPS.edu.
Okay. And you are, can you just remind me one more time, what's your position within the CPS?
I'm Director of Safety Services.
Director of Safety Services. Are you on the website anywhere? Because I was just looking at Safety Security would be Jadine Chow, right? So you're within the same kind of.
She's my boss.
She's your boss. Okay. Can I have her?
I report to Jeannie Chip.
Can I have her email address?
Can you have hers?
Yeah. Because I wanna reach as
What is this in regards to?
this is regarding safe trafficking of your underage female students. So that's pretty serious. Yeah. To put it in a nutshell. And I've actually.
You can have her email address. It's J-P, is it Peter? C-H-O-U at CPS.edu.
Then one more email, if you don't mind. That will be Joe Mariardi. Because I left him a message.
I don't think I have Joe's email address.
Okay, so that would be basically. Is by the way Forrest Claypool still within the CPS or is he out?
Forrest Claypool is not with CPS.
So here is the situation. As I said, I've contacted Janice Jackson repeatedly over the email. Basically through the email. If you could just confirm her email, is this if you could just confirm it for me, because I want to just make sure I was given the right email.
Yeah, I don't have her email address.
Okay, I get it. Can someone confirm it for me today? Because I would assume.
What is this? You've been emailing her, right?
Well, the track record of other agencies just revealed to me that people are kind of, as I said, on both ends of the equation. So sometimes they just make mistake. Well, as I said, it's not intentional. While providing me some information, contact information, and then it looks like the month later, it looks like no one received anything. So, as I said, I want to just be, and I would assume all these emails are pretty easy to remember if you work there. How long have you been with CPS, sir?
About a decade.
About a decade. So as I said, are you familiar with the individual named Scott Nelson? He's a chief investigator within the law department at Board of Education. Have you ever met him?
Scott Nelson?
Scott Nelson. Have you?
Yeah, I know Scott Nelson.
You know him? Have you? You've met him, right?
Yeah, I know.
What?
I work with him.
And what is his contact number, if I may? Because here is the.
I can't just. Yeah. Where do you go with this?
Where I'm going? Scott Nelson. Can you just describe his appearance? I mean, what does he look like?
I don't know if I can provide you right off hand what he looks like. He's tall.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
is he white? Is he black? Is he Asian?
He's white.
So can you just I mean his appearance, like he's tall, but what else? I mean, because
I don't know.
Here's the situation. Okay.
I got several things to do like a kid.
Yeah. So here's the situation. Scott Nelson. Yeah, Scott Nelson is. If he's a chief investigator, he just doesn't exist as he's identifying himself to me. When I met him last week at the doorstep of one North Dearborn building, he couldn't really identify himself with state ID. So I kind of interpret this as a really light red flag. Another thing, he was sitting. Oh, this is I'll spell it out for you. Artur, Arthur, and also Polish-sounding last name, Sadowski, S-A-D like David, O-W-S-K-I. I'm a private citizen, living in Chicago. So one of the contact numbers links Scott Nelson with organized crime entities. And this, I'm talking sex trafficking entities. You should be alarmed just by me saying this. You've been sitting on my sex trafficking claims.
So actually, you sent an email already, right? I already have.
No. My friend, I've sent tons of emails, starting with Inspector General way back in June, my friend. someone, or if Scott Nelson indeed exists, he is in a lot of trouble. He is in a lot of trouble because, as I said, the numbers he provided to me.
This is where, like, alright, so I'm familiar with, the email that you sent. I know you sent several of them.
Oh, you're from...
This is where, like, I know we've already supplied them all to the proper law enforcement agency.
Oh, really? So why no one... When was this? Was it like recently or was it in June? Because I've contacted you guys in June.
Yeah, I know you've contacted with law enforcement agencies. We've communicated with law enforcement agencies with which provided as well.
I mean, well...
At this point, there's nothing else that we can communicate back with you regarding this. Like,
I think that's...
amount of email that you've been sending, we have to ask you to stop sending emails to us regarding the situation.
Oh, no, you can't ask me to stop. You're a public entity. You're not a private, corporation. So I can contact you. I'm not harassing you in any way. I'm just informative as I can be. So you can't really... If you're telling me to ask...
I know last week you said, right? Like,
No one... Excuse me. I can just put one word in between your words. No one ever reached out to me. So I assume what you're saying is basically not true, that you've contacted someone. That's, to me, it just sounds like BS, because normal procedure or protocol would call for a reach out to me to get some more information. And if you're kicking the can or looking the other way, this is not the CPS way, I would say. You're not a private organization, you're a public entity. You're funded by public funds. And you will be held accountable if there's any wrongdoing, basically, uncovered. And you're just basically not telling the truth to me because, as I said, you're as general as you can be by saying that you've contacted law enforcement agency or agencies. Just provide some details to me. You can't, because you didn't. Thanks a lot, my friend.
is there anything else, sir?
That'll be it. Have a nice evening.
You have to ask that you have to stop contacting CPS.
Oh, you can ask, but...
Do you have any children with CPS?
Oh, is this something... Is this... No, I don't. But is this like, the contacting CPS, is this contingent upon having kids right there? Maybe I just worry about well-being, overall well-being of children in the city. Don't you think? Is it illegal? Is it a crime?
If we got your email, it was concerning.
No, and man, you didn't confirm anything to me that you got something. Hey, to me you can just say whatever you want to say. But as I said,
I am telling you that I have received your email.
Oh, you have?
We can do that.
And what is in that email? Then why are you asking me about all that? Hey, so can you just provide me something from you?
I didn't know who you were when you first spoke.
Okay, let's see. So what do you know?
I'm familiar with your name and I wrote your email.
Okay, what email are you talking about? Which email are you talking about? Can I ask this question now?
Sure, I'm not going to argue with you on the phone.
Well, I ask you, what email are you, mentioned? What email are you?
You sent several emails.
Have you read them?
Yes, I've read them.
So what do you think?
I think this is for law enforcement to look into.
Oh, so if you have someone who's basically affiliated with sex trafficking entities around the city, so that the employee being as high up as he claimed to be, Scott Nelson being chief investigator, you're really not touching anything in relation to him. You're just basically moving towards law enforcement, right? I mean, you don't have really anything to confirm that transfer of information to law enforcement, because they will be most likely contacting me by now. That's a pretty sluggish process within all entities within the CPS network. So, hey, you provided a lot of information to me, so I thank you very much for your time, and I wish you have a nice evening.
You do. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye, thanks. So as we see, or as we hear, the guy starts talking to me, asking about my name, asking about basically who I am and what I'm all about. And then at some point gradually he's confirming that, well, I've heard that you sent an email. Then he read the email, then he read multiple emails. You don't have to be an expert in uncovering lies or mistruths or truthiness pieces within those lies. There's not much really to put in favor of this individual named Ronan Shableski, Director of Security. So that's the first video, and I think this has to be whatever, blowing the whistle thing or something like this. I am aware that it's illegal to record someone without consent here in Illinois, but we have to basically put the end to this ongoing crime, and extreme situations require extreme measures to accomplish it, and that's one of them.